The bass part that comes in here is a complete ripoff of Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. And if you're asking what's this video about, what's the point of that, I have no clue. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. I don't talk about this too much on the channel, but straight up, I dropped out of college to go on tour with a band when I was 22 years old, and that band was Scale the Summit. 2 years ago, I cheekily reacted to a video of myself playing another Scale the Summit song. It was indeed the 10-year anniversary of the album The Migration, and I couldn't ignore today's date because today is the 10-year anniversary of the album V. Holy shit. And I thought it would be fun to reacquaint myself with the music video we did for the song Blue Sun way back when. I don't think I've seen this video since around the time we released it. And considering this is the very last album I did with the band, this will likely be the very last video I ever make about the band. But this happens to be a song I'm actually pretty proud of in terms of the bass lines and the way they translated creatively. And this song really showcases a lot of the things I talk about here regularly on the channel. Just different approaches for bass lines and how to deviate from the riff and being in unison later in the song on chorus 2 and such. All these things you hear me say, I think this song is a good example of my approaches. So it'll be fun to listen through this and be able to actually demonstrate some of that in real time. I only did 2 albums with this band, and I definitely prefer the first one, looking back, and seems like a lot of other people did too. But I still love a ton of moments on this album, despite that being the time period when things started to kind of boil over with the band, unfortunately. But I look back on that era of my life with nothing but fondness and positivity, so this will be really fun to revisit. Without further ado, here's the music video for Blue Sun from Scale the Summit. Shit, wrong button. I really missed that bass. But this one's still good. Man, it was so damn hot in those costumes. Okay, as I said in the intro, this video will be a bit different. As we go through the song, I haven't seen this video in forever, but all the various approaches to bass playing you hear me often mention in many other videos, I'm glad to kind of be able to show you a real-world example of how I might execute that. We're not going to get too nitty-gritty into these parts, but I can kind of show you just how some of these things come together in terms of storyboarding bass lines, because I've been big on that long before I did these videos. And I think this song just happens to be a really good example of how I approached it. So the thing to note here, let me just get to like the chorus of the song. You can kind of hear, it'll give you some context. Let's just keep going. I'll stop it in a second. Okay, this part. Let's see if I remember it. Yeah, screw that playing over and over again. That gets tiring. So I would consider this sort of the chorus of the song. This is an instrumental song, of course, so those definitions are loose. But it's the first time in the song where I let the bass part actually be in unison with something. And the only other time this sort of happened is right in the intro here. So if we go back just to this opening riff for a second, the guitar parts are going da-da-la, 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 sixlets, right? And the bass sounds like it is. But actually what I'm doing is I'm holding a note out on the first count of the first group of 6, if that makes sense. So instead of going da-da-la, da-da-la, da-da-la in unison on bass, I'm really going. And the reason for that is that it gives a bit more weight. Otherwise, the bass is too fast and there's really no thump to it. And it sort of distinguishes the bass part a bit from the guitar part. Same thing happens in this next section. I can't imagine how JC felt playing drums in that damn thing. And before you ask, no, I couldn't see my fretboard at all. It was very bright in that room. Of course, the white background. You can't see through that thing. So it took a few takes. Okay, this section here. So I'm going to put this on screen, this part right here. Okay, you'll notice the guitar part is just straight 16th notes. Well, I thought that would be boring for bass. And here's a good example of how to take a lot of subdivision in a guitar part, maybe meld some of the notes together for less subdivision, and make it more of a groove. So the guitars are kind of going this kind of thing here. So I glued some of the notes together, combined them, and made more of a groove out of it that, again, sounds in unison. But when you really look at the bass part, it's a bit different. It's a bit groovier. I didn't think this grooved a lot. So I went. Same part, slightly different, enough to just make it groove. So when I talk about in all these other videos of how can a bass part embellish a part, elevate a part, this is kind of how I would do it. I would look at a guitar riff that might be a bit technical and go, how can I just change this enough to be different, but not so much that it's strikingly different yet? There's a lot of independent bass lines in this song, but the point of doing this in the intro is that nothing is in unison until this part. I'll jump back to it. See, this is a whole different independent bass line too. Nothing to do with the guitar part, independent line. And it's just to keep it separated until the next part. Boom. The impact of everything being in unison here was the goal. So now the bass is actually joining in on the tapping part, and it just has this chorus-like impact. So again, things I talk a lot about in videos. How can you just make everything a bit different in the bass part and save that unison impact for when it counts? Say a chorus. And I've played in other bands with vocalists, and the approach is really the same there too, because you're just looking for a point in the song to make it all come together. However you approach that, but this is sort of how I did it in this song. Okay. By the way, that guy plays in the band Intervals now. They're about to go on tour in Europe. Make sure to go get a ticket. Travis is my pal. Love him forever. And he's still using that guitar, I believe. So yeah, just a little side note plug there. Damn, that goes on and on. All right, it's back to this part. Back to a part that's different than everything else to not keep staying in unison, because you want that impact. You want to kind of ration the impact of everything I just talked about. So we're going to go back to this part here. First time we're going down low here. I haven't done any bass parts. So that's a sort of different impact I've saved for a little bit later here too. Little breakdown here. Bass chord right there, and that's the beautiful thing of having a 6-string. You can jump up and be a guitar when you want. I just loved having that flexibility in this band, and I'm not sure if you knew, I used to play 7-string bass. I thought that was a bit much looking back. Man, there was a lot of opportunity and possibility musically with it, but the neck just sucked to play. It was like a DVD case. So I joined Scale the Summit. The previous bass player, Jordan Eberhardt, played 6-string, so I naturally just assumed that role as well. But being in that framework of 2 guitar players who often played different things, technical, I just felt these songs were complete playgrounds of opportunity creatively. And it's really where I found my voice as a bass player. And having no vocalist, just, it really allowed that freedom to do whatever. So right here, I jump up in the guitar part, just make a D power chord, thickens it up, do the run in unison, then do a little chord thing up here. Same thing. Oop. Jump down an octave. So all that's going on in this part. Okay. Bass part finally simplifying a bit here, which is calling back to the part I introduced a second ago. So now we're going, outlining the chords a bit, locking in with the rhythm guitar. I like how it's like a floating mustache. Just right here. That was sort of the goal with the lighting and the blown out look, to where the black contrast of the tuxedo was really all you saw, along with the instruments. I like how this came out. And if you're asking, what's this video about? What's the point of that? I have no clue. I think somebody suggested it as a joke. They found the costume on Amazon, and we were like, okay, let's buy it. The rest is history. So looking back, I still have no idea why we did that. Again, couldn't see what we were doing. I don't know how the guitar players, I don't know how Chris did that. The smaller frets, at least I had the light up bass, so I could kind of see. So talented guys in this band. I'll never not say that. Double thump here. Yeah, double thump. Okay, the point of this part was something I often talk about as well. How do you bridge together a riff and a drum part? Because, you know, you can play a guitar riff on drums per se. You can mimic it and get the timbres as close as you can with the parts of the kit and such. But there's one final ingredient to really glue them together. I use that term glue a lot. And I think this is another good example where I did this. I changed to the double thumb technique that's percussive to be more drum-like, but then I outlined chord intervals, double stops. So we have power chord here, tritone, back to fifth. So a lot of power chords, which helps to thicken it up and be more guitar-like, all while being percussive, like the drum part. So when you put these two together, the way it fits in between them is just really thick, a really thick backdrop for the solo part. So go back and kind of play along with that. Go before that. This kind of sets it up, the low stuff. Now we go. It goes nicely into this bridge section, just holding out on the A. I think this is where we did that creepy head turn. I remember that. It's coming back to me. Yeah, look at myself and Chris. Blue guitars is Chris. We just turn and look at Travis. What a goofy video. So, this is a long, dreamy bridge here, right? You could see by the slow-mo, that was the point. My entire bass approach completely changes on the second half of the song. That was very much intentional to bring the energy way down and take a left turn. And I think we actually look back at Chris now, or I do. For some reason, I remember doing a lot of takes to that. It was either like we looked too fast, it wasn't creepy enough, or we looked too slow and it was awkward. So we had to get that perfect, kind of thing. For some reason, I remember that. Okay, the bass part that comes in here is a complete ripoff of Fleetwood Mac's Dreams. I just wanted to, after everything I've done in the song, tapping, bass chords, 16th note runs, just a lot of busyness, I said, when this comes back in, it has to be the simplest thing I can think of. I gave myself that rule. I have a lot of distinctive memories of writing these parts. For some reason, I just remember that Fleetwood Mac Dreams. I would play a clip of the song to compare, but I'm sure this video will get taken down if I do that. But it goes, just like that. So that's my exact inspiration for that part. And it's a lot of the same notes too. And the other utility of that part is that this is a riff in 7/4, I believe. Dun, 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 dun. So this bass part kind of lets your head bob in a 4/4 pattern, and you don't necessarily realize the odd meter. So I kind of tried to make it a more natural groove here, despite being an odd meter, and just for some reason that bass line kind of worked. Seven, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I did a shitty job of counting that. Seven, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, no, it's 15. I don't remember the time signatures from these riffs, so I think it's 7, 8 alternating. I should know this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. 7, 7, 7, 8, maybe? I don't remember. Okay, this bass part is where things get really different. And I take a whole different melodic approach here. The first half of the song was gritty, clanky, aggressive. Now we're getting really melodic, and it started with that bridge, the dreamy guitar part, this Fleetwood Mac Dreams kind of thing here, which helped to kind of let the song groove a bit more. A lot of this other stuff didn't. Now that wasn't meant to groove, it was meant to be technical. So we're taking a different approach now, and I do remember recording, all I did was move my hand up here to track this part. You'll hear how the bass part sounds way thicker, warmer, bassier. Right here, this next part. It's fat. I didn't use any different effects, no different basses, no different settings. This was all recorded just the same. All I did was move my hand up here, and I talk a lot about this in videos too. If you want to go for a different tone as a bass player without fumbling with knobs and kicking on and off pedals, I mean, your hand position plays a huge role in that. Go to the area of the strings that's looser. It's going to be the halfway point. Well, you don't want to pluck up here, so just away from the bridge, you get less tension, because that same bass line here versus doesn't change anything. So that's a great technique just on the fly, especially in a live setting where you can't go back here and start screwing with stuff, right? But it kept it simple in recording too. And I just love the melody. This was a fun melody to come up with. If you play it by itself, like I just did, you can sing it. It's almost like a vocal melody. It doesn't have a ton of jumps and range. It's very much centered around something you could actually sing. And that's something I learned from guys like Geddy Lee. Can you sing the bass line? Well, you can't really sing like... So I always took that lyrical approach, and I just thought it was another good backdrop for this part of the song, staying in this melodic vein. So let's go into that. Screwing up. Big slide out. So now the bass line starts to get a bit more like it was in the first half of the song. It's a slow return to that, and it kind of starts here. Okay, bass part here is very much like what I did earlier in the intro. That part right before the... So I brought that same articulation back, the bounciness. Really bouncy stuff. It builds energy, just making things more staccato. Let's go into that. Drop out here, back in. This section always my favorite to play live. Another, I forgot about that shot. It just threw me off guard. I guess you go into that. I remember that being really difficult to do. Anyway, another example of putting my hand back to the bridge to get that tightness in those notes. You would want to play that part here. I was just there earlier for the... But you wouldn't want to play this tighter part. The notes just take too long to pronounce themselves. Announce themselves? Pronounce themselves? Whatever. They're just too woofy, so I move my hand back to the bridge to get that punchiness. Versus, like before I even let go of the string, I'm already muting it again. Versus, so for a part like this, I would move my hand back here to get... And you can even go down to the low B string that's typically more floppy than the others and get that. So, again, hand position is everything. Another melodic bass line. Chords. And the reason I did chords there is because I've talked about this too. You listen to the guitar part and go, what aren't they doing? Well, they're not playing chords right now. Nobody's playing a power chord. They're playing single note melodies in unison. So it's like when the guitar goes from chords to something single note, it's almost my cue to go from single notes to chords. Take up that space they left open. And it keeps the energy and the continuity of just the vitality of the song just consistent. So as a bass player, especially in a setting like this, you have so much more opportunity than you think to shape and be the decision maker of how everything comes across. So this part is a derivative of that. So now we're less woofy. We're back more here, snappier position for the string tension, whatever. Chords here. First inversion C major, then down to D minor. So this part's a bit chordal, and it's a bit of a derivative of the melodic one earlier. That's how I approached it. Okay, next part in the song where everything is really in unison again, and there's a certain impact there. See, we're all different here. Ooh, what is it? Forgot this part. Yeah, there's some chord there. Yeah, that's it. Real buried in there. Well, not super buried. The bass is actually pretty loud on this album. I have kind of a funny story about that at the end. Yeah. Exactly in unison with the guitars. Yeah, that part's so loud, that little harmonic thing. Okay, this was a little thing I feel like I added last minute when recording, but it's a bass chord with 2 harmonics and 2 fretted notes in it, and it just really pops. I like the texture of it. I like how it lines up with the timbre of JC's darker cymbals. We're getting really artsy-fartsy now, but these are some of the things I think about. Right here. Yeah, so that's the chord. 5th fret harmonic. 2 fretted notes, 2 harmonics. And that mimics the exact notes of the guitar players are doing. It's hard to get cleanly. So just a quirky way to outline in unison that, but maybe have a different timbre in the bass part. And then we're back to gritty, technical, punchy, the way the song came in. And then we're out. Next one. I kind of remember that run. Woo! That one snuck up on me. Back to this part. Brought this part back. I never liked this drum part JC did here. I don't know why he did it. It looks funny. I think it was really technical, and it just, I don't know, it kind of flipped the beat a little bit. But I'm bringing this bass part back. It puts the accent of the bass part in a weird place. Okay, same groovy thing again. I think it ends with the tapping. Ending the song with the unison was the highest point to bring it to. Yeah, what a creepy ending too. The tonality of this little outro interlude is always kind of chilling. Chris had a knack for writing really moody things like that. Wow. Trip down memory lane for sure. I can't remember the last time I saw this. It had to have been a little after we put it out, I guess. That was a lot of fun to sort of reminisce on those times. I can't believe this album is 10 years old today. Oof. Where does the time go? Time is a thief. What's strange is I listened to this song in the car a few times leading up to making this video, and it came back to me pretty quickly. That whole thing about musicians who play songs live on tour over and over and over and over again. I mean, they just never really leave your DNA. Aside a couple little transitions in there, I'm surprised I remembered as much as I did. This is really my DNA as a bass player. It came from guys like John Mayung, Cliff Burton, Geddy Lee, Billy Sheehan. We've been over this a lot. But I think this song was a good showcase for all the different approaches of having an independent bass line, when to go in unison, and just different ways to bridge the parts together. And the guitar parts, of course, lent themselves to bass parts like this. You know, you couldn't really get away with that kind of stuff in a lot of other songs, but this was the band that helped me to find that voice, and these songs I look back on as just really good creative exercises for my development as a player. Nonetheless, thank you guys for watching me react to myself. These always feel a little vain for some reason, but I think I could share my approaches a little bit, my headspace back then, and you guys get to see a snapshot of what I was doing before. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. As always, if you want to support the channel further, please come find us over on Patreon. Have tons of bass lessons, music theory lessons, and a swell community full of awesome people who've been so fun to get to know. Very thankful for that. You should come hang out with us. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope you did, please like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I love you all. We'll see you in the next one.